let's do an unseen therapist thing here for a moment. Okay. And I will ask the rest of you guys to just join in. Become as best you can, Jay. Be a surrogate in her behalf, kind of thing. Just sort of go along, and we'll see what happens. Now, I never know when I do this exactly what I'm going to be saying or doing, because I'm oftentimes just guided by unseen therapists. You don't have to always be, especially for a newcomer, you don't have to be guided by all of this, and because we have some cookie cutter ways to go about it, which are very effective. But I'm probably going to do some reframing and whatever shows up here. Okay. So anyway, are you ready? Are you ready, my dear?
Yes, I am.
All right. So close your eyes, sit back, relax, and take a nice, deep, relaxing breath. And just as a way of inviting unseen therapists, simply recall a loving moment somewhere in your past and nod your head whenever you're there. All right, good. Just as a little digression here with your eyes still closed, and as a reminder, I know you guys have been around this a while, but I just want to make this point. We do not need to have a Hollywood moment when we recall a loving moment. All we're doing is simply aligning ourselves as best we can with the pure love of the unseen therapist. That's all we are doing here. We don't have that. We're not running around with that level of love ourselves. We're just saying, look, we know you're always guiding us. We're just not listening most of the time. Guard at the gate, ego, all that stuff. Okay. But for now, we're aligning with you as best we can, and we're going to give you a little something, and we're going to pay attention. We're going to listen. All right? That's all that is. All right. So shift your focus now, Jay, back to age 11. And there you are. And before this traumatic event happens, you're just 11 years old, you're doing whatever you do, etc. You have a mother, you have a father, you have a familiar set of surroundings, a familiar set of emotional goings on in the world, a familiar set of your mother's emotions, being the quiet school teacher type. Okay. And then, through no fault whatsoever of your own, this occurs. Father comes home, sees the divorce papers, rather calmly goes up and packs his bag, so to speak, and walks out the door. Mother, apparently expecting something else, panics about this. Big time panic, crying, all kinds of things. And to you, Jay, that is scary. It is frightening. What's going to happen to me, maybe? What's going to happen to my mother? What is all of this? And here is all of this emotion about the unknown which has suddenly come upon you. An unknown is suddenly walked right into your lap. You're not familiar, you're not used to this. Who is? Okay. Unknown, unknown, unknown. So we're going to hand this to the unseen therapist. But what we're going to hand is your response to all of this, the scary, unknown heart thing going on. That's what we're going to respond. We're going to hand it to her. Because so we'll let her speak for a moment. She's saying, well, Jay, got it. You're age 11. Yeah. How else could you react? Your world is being torn apart in a way. It's the unknown. Very scary. What's next? What's next? What's next? What's next? Okay. And you're also told at this point that you better be careful about your heart. Your whole family, the family's had some heart issues, and you really got to be careful. You can't exercise too much. And here's your heart beating, maybe. Okay. Heart thing. Uh-oh. another clue that something's really wrong here. But you're 11, says unseen therapist. You're 11. You don't have the ability to debate any of this. You have no background with which to compare this. It's just all new, very scary, and something you would like to avoid. But it's unresolved. It's unresolved. It still kicks around. When you remember it even today, it's a 9. The heart thing becomes a 9 with the intensity and all of that. But it need not be. Here you are decades later and you're still worked up about it. And you would even know logically there's no real reason to be. But there it is anyway, kicking around inside the 11-year-old in you. And that 11-year-old is still within you, and so on. So, this is Gary speaking now. While we use a variety of different metaphors to hand things over to unseen therapists, I'm going to veer a little bit from what's in the book, the one with the unwanted vibration around your heart. We'll just do it a little differently this time. And in front of you, and in your imagination, just imagine a cloud floating in front of you. Oh, maybe 2 meters wide and 2 meters deep and 2 meters high, something like that. It's a dark cloud. And there's a label on the front of it. It says scary. No, it says the unknown is scary. Avoid the unknown. These are the little subtitles, okay? Avoid the unknown. The unknown is going to cause you problems. Don't go that way. Walk this way where you're familiar. Do the familiar. Do the familiar. What you're doing now is when you veer from the familiar, you replay something in your past. We are thinking this scary event. It's irrational, of course. You need not carry it around anymore. But anyway, here's this cloud. It's floating in front of you. Unseen therapist comes next to you. She realizes that if you walk into this cloud, that's the unfamiliar. That is where you're going to get the heart thing and all of that. That's the unfamiliar. And the stomach problems and the other things. That's the unfamiliar. It's dark. What's in there? Unknown is in there. So, unseen therapist puts her arms around you, walks beside you, and gently the two of you walk toward the cloud. It's a little scary at first, but there's unseen therapist there. She's letting you know it's just a cloud. Can you not now feel the cool mist of the outer edges of the cloud as you approach it on your face? It feels kind of nice. Nice, cool, gentle mists, fog-like little moisture. And so you've walked a little bit into the cloud. A few centimeters is all. An unseen therapist says, now this may appear to be very dark to you. After all, it is the unknown. But as we go through this, we're going to shift the unknown into what you know anyway. Just like when you walk one direction instead of the familiar direction, you even know what the new direction is about. You just replay this dark cloud. And so we walk a little bit further into it. And as you walk into it, you'll notice, because unseen therapist is helping you with this, that the places you're walking into start to become white. They become resolved. It's just a cloud. That's all it is. You have made the dark yourself. It's just a cloud. The dark is in your imagination. So as you go through this cloud, gradually, slowly, the dark starts to turn to white. And you may spend a moment or two looking at this specific event. This scariness I had when my mother was crying and all this specific event that was going on and so on. Well, let's stop a moment. That was your mother's issue. That was your mother's reaction to the unknown. She was expecting a different reaction from your father and didn't get it. This is your mother's reaction. It isn't yours. It is hers. But you're responding to it anyway. So look at your mother now and look at all of this. And with my help, says Unseen Therapist, let's send your mother some love. Because at this moment, boy, does she ever need it. At least that's how it appears. So you and the Unseen Therapist just stop for a moment. Gently look at your mother. Understand the angst she's going through, the turmoil she's going through. And send her some love. Rather than send it, let's share it. Develop love for yourself, love for your mother. Borrow Unseen Therapist love if you need to, and you're welcome to do that. And share it with your mother. Maybe in your mind's eye, you can see your mother as she receives this love in your imagination. Maybe you can notice her posture change, soften. The crying fades. Gentleness comes upon her. It's not a fun event for her, but she needs love. So do you at age 11. So do you at your current age. So does everybody. So we generate some love for your mother. And while we're at it, we're going to generate some love for your father, who's now out the door. But he's got something going on with him. Let's give him a little love as well. The important part being that you, Jay, are generating the love. You're having love now, hopefully, instead of a scary feeling. Love. Love. And so now you walk a little further into the cloud, and the whiteness of the cloud is easier to come by. And you think even about the event where you take a different avenue on your walk, a different direction. Well, that's part of the dark cloud, but that comes from the past somewhere, because there's no real reason for that. So even that becomes less scary, and the dark cloud turns white yet some more. And then now spend a little time. Take whatever time you need, Jay, to walk around this cloud, this dark cloud with Unseen Therapists, as you walk around and see other things that might be unfamiliar, unknown, scary. You could even visit the family's response to heart issues. Oh, don't exercise. Don't get too worked up. And recognize that's their issue. That's their issue, not yours. And other people's fears, which the 11-year-old picks up quite naturally, are their fears. So walk around inside the dark cloud for a while. Notice these things, even things we haven't talked about. And notice that it's somebody else's issues, not really yours. You just assumed it as an issue for yourself. Do that, allow the dark cloud to turn to white. Walk out the other side of it. Look back at the cloud, shrug your shoulders and say, why? Why was I so bothered? As best you can, do that. Take whatever time you want. The others do that in her behalf. And whenever you're ready, open your eyes and we'll talk about it. Okay. So were you able to follow along all right? Or would you have a bunch of competing thoughts or what?
Yeah, I did have a lot of thoughts, two of which I remember because you hit the target in so many places that I will have to listen to the replay. But there are two main things. One of them is the fact when you say the dark cloud was created by myself, it is not real. And that is something I know too well, and it gives me a sense of how do you say? I'm the culprit. Okay.
You're the victim. You're the victim.
No, the culprit.
Oh, the culprit.
I made that dark cloud myself.
You're the bad guy.
Yeah. And the other thing I wanted to say is, that love I could give to my mother and my father, it could flow especially to my mother. To my father, I didn't feel it much. But this made me think of the fact that from the day they went apart, I was never able to give signs of love or to feel love for my mother or my father. While before that, I was really just one with my mother and rather attached to my father in a lesser proportion, but still he was a father, no problem, not much interested in me, but, I didn't have any conflicts.
Okay. Well, I want to do a little testing now.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, I let me be teacher for a minute. When I do my testing, I don't do it immediately after we have just finished the session, because I can get some false results because they're too close to it. That's why I distracted her and said, were there any competing thoughts? I wanted to get her, we're still on the topic and all that, but I wanted to get her thoughts away from the immediacy of what we just did. Okay. So that in my experience, that makes our testing perhaps a little more accurate. Okay. Mm-hmm. So the test we're going to do now is, if you would, close your eyes for me. Mm-hmm. And go back to this event. There's your mother crying, father walking out the door, the crisis, and your scariness feeling, and tell me if you're still a 9.
No, about that event. It feels strange to say it's disappeared, so I will say it's a 1, just not to say it's a 0, but I guess I could say it's a 0.
Well, yeah, you're saying a 1 to be a pain, right?
I'm saying a 1 to what?
Just to be difficult.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Now, I am always suspicious. It may well be we have just put this one specific event to bed and all that emanates from it. Okay. Maybe. Okay. But I'm always suspicious. I never, ever want to be fooled by a temporary result. That's why we test. So we're going to do another little test now. If you would, again, close your eyes. Mm-hmm. Revisit it, but this time literally try to get yourself upset. Exaggerate the sights, the sounds, the feelings. Look for what's not done yet and tell me what happens.
Yes, it's a bit more the fact that seeing my father walk away makes me feel frozen, I would say, at the time. Yes, it still triggers some emotion when I try to make it real bad.
Okay. And what is the emotion? Scariness or something else?
As I said, for my father walking away, it's being frozen. When you're quite afraid, you are fight or flight or freeze. This was the freeze. And with my mother, what was the feeling? Maybe, not feeling safe next to her any longer, as if I had not known her well for 11 years, and that day I discovered what she really was, which is, in a sense, it's true, in a sense, it's not.
Okay. So this is why testing is important. Because what you did, the primary thing you did when I asked you about that was you didn't bring up the fear you were having as you were watching your mother in her grave. You brought up your father walking out the door. Okay.
Uh-huh.
That's a different, well, we talked about that some. That's not what we aimed at. We aimed at, your response to your mother, the unfamiliarity, the unknown, et cetera. Okay. That's what we aimed at. You brought up your father. Okay. That's a new aspect. It's a different aspect. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I hadn't thought of it until now when I could feel it making things worse.
Well, yeah, but that's the point of testing. You're always looking for what's not done yet. Most EFTers go, tap, tap, tap. What do they do? Okay. Oh, look at that. And then they think they're done. No. You're just, many times, maybe you are with that, but many times you're just starting. Okay. We want to be thorough here. Now, you also mentioned in there that now you were looking at your mother, and this was a unusual thing that your mother was doing. You were wording it a little bit differently than we had worded it during our session. Okay. And I'm not remembering all that, but there were differences in it. Okay. Let me ask you this. Are you, right now, at the moment, do you have a heart thing?
No.
Do you have a stomach thing?
No.
Okay. Close your eyes, go back to this event, and try to get back both either or both the stomach or the heart thing. Do whatever you can to get it back and try it, okay?
Yes, I can get it back. It's not difficult.
Okay, all right. Is it back to, as heavy as it was?
No, it is slightly different, but how could I describe that? Now I can feel as if someone were pinching my spine and having the result here at my here.
Uh-huh. Well, that's describing the physical thing differently than you call it was a heart beating or a heart thing. Now you're talking about pinching the spine.
Yes.
Okay. Those weren't words you used before. Now, again, we explore. We're always looking for what's not done yet. Okay. And we don't have time to keep going on all of this, but we've kind of opened the door. But to me, the pinching the spine thing is indicative of another specific event, probably having to do with unfamiliarity.
Yes, I know which one.
Oh, well.
I was at the dentist at age, I don't know, yes, maybe 10 or 12, around that age again. And it was a very brutal dentist. He was dentist for the army. So you can imagine how delicate he was. And my mother brought me there, and I was so frightened of the session that I got that pinching sensation in my back so bad that he didn't even treat me that day. He said, "You go back home."
How many kisses would you like?
Plenty.
See, what you did now is, and this is advanced lesson number 4, bouncing off of other events and so on.
Mm-hmm.
You shifted to a totally different event. That's just not just an aspect. It's another event. Okay. Tomorrow morning, when you wake up, let a little time go by. Okay. You wake up. You'll want to visit this event. You've now recorded it, so you want to visit it again. Okay. And see what's left on this event, not the aspects and the other things that it may be leading to.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
You mean on the dentist event?
No.
No, on the divorce event.
On the divorce event, your mother crying event. Go back to that one. See if there's something left there. Be clear, distinguish if you can. What's different about that compared to what we actually worked on?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, sure.
And then we got the dentist thing. Okay, now you may come up with another thing, but I'm going to guess, although it can always be proven wrong here, but I'm going to guess that the dentist thing also has this unfamiliarity piece of it.
Yes, of course.
in there someplace. Okay, that theme at least. Now maybe not. Maybe it's some other theme, and off we go. Okay.
Yeah. But the common theme is fear. And when you talk about people's emotions, etc., I've always said my only emotion, my center emotion is fear. I know.
All right. Well, we've now gotten, this is what I call a good start on the fear. Okay. But it is a start. There's more to go. I want to ask you something. This particular session, I think would be, the recording of this session would be useful for others to see if you are willing. I think they could learn a lot from it.
Oh, it's okay for me.
Okay.
If the others are okay.
Are you guys okay?
Yes.
Okay. So could you send me a copy of it?
Happily.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Anything else you guys want to go over while we're here?
I'll just make a comment that while we were in supporting her as with eyes closed, I was trying very hard to focus on being her and unseen therapist and all. A fear of mine that has nothing to do with her came up. And so I faced that and I said, okay, this one needs to be worked on, which I had never thought of that before.
All right.
So,
well, that's unseen therapist saying, looky, Helen, looky. She's good at that. She's good at that.
It's something that was in probably 6th grade, they showed the pictures of the atom bomb and what happened in the test ground, and it blew everything up, and there weren't any bodies, it was mannequins, but it caused me to want to keep the door to my room open at all times so I could run past out, and And I never thought of it as something to deal with. So
Oh, yeah, sure. And by the way, that's a very realistic fear. Who wants to be around when an atom bomb goes off? Okay, I mean, it's very realistic. It's another thing though to go over the top and get nervous about it, kicking around under the surface all the time, causing us whatever. Okay, to whatever extent it's there. Okay.
it was too young an age to be shown something like that.
Yeah, sure.
That's
sure.
all.
Sure.
But yeah, neat.
Okay.
What I really liked and took away from this session is how we began with a very global, what is familiar, what is unfamiliar, and how that could be funneled into something that is very, very specific. So we started with the grand scheme because oftentimes people do not have any idea what their specific event is. So that was very useful to just really take the time to go into that global feeling.
Yeah.
And narrow it down and trust.
Yeah.
Trust.
That's one of the skills that it just takes practice to learn. That is to take our more global issues and reduce them down to specific events. That just takes practice. Okay. But you can almost always do it. What does that remind you of is a good question to start aiming that direction. Okay.
Yeah.
But there are others as well. So,
Yeah.
okay, guys, anything more?
You all rock.
Thank you. Thank
Okay.
you.
Well, from California comes a giant hug for all of you all around the world, apparently. Okay.
Yes.
More,
Thank
More-
you
Big
to all of
hug.
you.
Thanks so
Big
much,
hug.
Gary.
all right.
Mwah. Thank you.
And send me the recording, please.
Will do.
All right. Bye.
Bye.